What's up guys, it's your boy Wolf and we're back with another 7 Deadly Sins Origins video. Now today's video is slightly different. I'm kind of doing this because of the timeline and also to kind of just test to see how the reception of this video is, to see what kind of content you guys like, if this is something that you guys might like or appreciate. And hopefully you will still find things in this video that help you. You will still be able to walk away from this video and have gained some information or some knowledge. So what is this video? This video is an account review, and it's a review of my account. I started my account 2 weeks ago yesterday, so it's been exactly 2 weeks. I started on the Tuesday of the early access. We're now on the Wednesday. At the time of recording, it's Wednesday of the second week since grand launch. So it's been 2 weeks since I started my account. I'm completely free to play. I don't know if this really proves it because I don't know what it looks like when you purchase bundles, but you can see that I haven't bought like the SSR weapon bundle. I haven't bought any of these. I haven't bought these mission bundles. None of these I've got these per account or monthly purchase. I haven't touched any bundles yet. I'm not going to say that I won't buy bundles. This account isn't free to play because I'm being strict about it. I just haven't felt like I've needed to spend any money on the game yet. I probably might down the line. I can see a scenario where when Escanor comes out, I maybe spend some money to just like 10 Escanor or something. But at the moment, I'm completely free to play. I've been playing the game for 2 weeks. I've been logging in every single day. The amount of grinding I do each day kind of depends on my mood and kind of how much time I have available to play the game, but I have been making sure to log in every day. And at the very minimum, the two things I make sure I do every day is I use all my keys and I go and I mine all the platinum, because platinum is going to be your biggest bottleneck in terms of crafting your weapons and other gear and stuff and leveling up your weapons and things like that towards the end game. And you only manage to get about 10 ingots. It's about, depending on the drops, it's roughly about 10 to 11 ingots you get per day. So you want to make sure that you're farming those every day. That's the one thing I do. But I'm rambling. I want to show you guys my account, see what I've done with everything, see what I'm running, see how I've built them up, and explain to you some of the decisions I made. And hopefully, as I talk you through what things I did and why I did them and explain some of my thought processes, you guys might take something from that as well. Because I've done some videos, I've done some guides on how to make your character stronger, how to make your team stronger, what to focus on, what order. But let's be honest, the game is dynamic. Everyone's account is dynamic. It changes different circumstances depending on how many resources you have, whether it's real money or in-game resources, depending on how much time you have to play, and depending on the kind of luck and RNG you've had on your account as well, like the characters that you've pulled. A lot of that affects how you play and how you build your characters and what you choose to prioritize. So no matter what I say, oh, I missed a chest hit. No matter what I say, everyone's decision making process is going to be different on their account and their priorities are going to be different. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys what I've done and why. And maybe once you understand my choices, you'll be able to take something from that and make better decisions on your account as well. Now, that's not to say that my decisions are perfect. I am by no means a perfect player of the game or a pro player. I've grinded the game a lot. I think I more or less know what I want to do. I have certain goals and I've been working to achieve those goals. And that's the main thing. It's not about trying to play optimally per se, but it's about setting yourself some goals on your account and then making sure that you're doing what needs to be done to achieve those goals in the quickest and most efficient manner. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's go to our team. Let's show you the team I'm running at the moment, which is this. This is my team. You'll see I'm at 43.2k power now. So that's in 2 weeks of gameplay. That's where I've gotten to 124k HP. Diane has 10.5k attack. Meliodas has 16.9k. King with 4k and Manny with 3.6. And this is the team I'm running. Now, I've said it before in other videos. Diane was my first unit. She's who I got from my reroll. So that's who I started with. Manny was my second SSR that I ever got off the standard banner. And then King I got shortly after that. For a while, I was actually using King with his physical spec because I felt like this made more sense at the time to me because it would support not only Diane, but Meliodas as well. But I felt like using the way the physical spec um, kit works, it meant that I would have to spend a lot of time on king, because one of these is a stance that you kind of want to hold and maintain. And then this one does damage. But the whole point is you want to build up these stacks, and most of these stacks are coming from just standing around enemies while you hold down your Q. And I don't want to be spending that much time on king. I sometimes might still use this depending on how much I feel like I need this particular thing. But again, this is an ultimate. It costs 4 points, and ideally, I don't want to be spending ultimate points on King's ultimate. I want to be spending them on Meliodas's ultimate because that's where the big damage is coming from. So I switched to using King in his Earth spec, which doesn't buff Meliodas, but it does buff our Diane, and that's still useful because Diane is the one we're using mainly at the start of any fight to generate the Earth burst before we bring in Meliodas. So that's the team I'm running. Obviously, Diane is there with her gauntlets to do our main starting damage. She builds up her Earth Burst, activates the Earth Burst before I bring in Meliodas. Manny is there as a support because she adds some damage over time with her punishment ability, whatever you want to call it, the skill that applies punishment on them. And then she's also got that AoE circle that increases our magic burst efficiency, which basically means that we can generate ult faster, and it increases our crit damage, which is really nice to drop right before you activate Meliodas's darkness burst, because it means that now for the duration, as long as you stand in that circle, Meliodas is going to have 30% increased crit damage. I believe off the top of my head it is 30%. If we go here, yeah, so as long for 15 seconds, I get 30% crit damage and magic charging efficiency by 25%. And the reason why this is nice is because sometimes in the off chance I might decide to use Diane's ult just because she increases the speed at which using her ult increases the speed at which I'm able to generate that earth burst with her Q. So sometimes I use that ult, and my general rotation, so you guys know, is basically I'll start with King. Why do I start with King? Because not only the two reasons that I start with King and I use him on this team is because one, I want to start off with this ability, which increases earth damage by 20%. So that's directly going to buff Diane. And then it's also his weapon, because I'm using one of the blazing weapons, which has the first strike active on it, skill on it, which means that any enemy who is at max health is going to, for 20 seconds, take 20% more damage. So I want to start every fight by applying that on the enemy so that the first 20 seconds of that fight, I have 20% increased damage done from here, plus I have 20% increased earth damage, which means that the moment I switch into Diane after that, she's now doing 40% increased damage to them while I'm generating that burst. Then obviously after I go from King, I go into Diane. I basically use her, alternating her normal attacks, her Q, and then finishing off with her E to generate the earth burst. As soon as that's done, I switch into Manny. Manny is like literally a 2-second switch. I switch into her, I press E, I press Q, drop the range, and then I switch into Meliodas. And then at that point, the rotation is kind of self-explanatory. I normal attack a few times to activate demonic power first. You don't want to start off with one of your skills because your demonic power isn't active by default. And so these special benefits you get from these by having demonic power active, you won't get if you start off with those without activating demonic power first. So as soon as I switch into melee, it activates darkness burst. I auto attack a few times. By auto attack, I mean normal attack. So clicking with my mouse, activate demonic power. Then I E and then Q. Why do I E and then Q? Because from my potentials, which you'll notice, we'll get to this in a second, from my potentials, you'll see that the final strike of my Q is going to reduce the cooldown of both my E and my Q by 50% in demonic power. So I want to make sure that both of those go on cooldown when my Q is hitting. So I E, then I Q, both of those get reduced cooldown. When I hit 10 stacks of Hellfire, if my ult is up, I ult, and then you basically rinse and repeat. So that's basically my team. That's the rotation. Let's go over the units specifically now, what I've done with each of them, how I've built them up. And obviously we have to start with the most obvious one, which is Meliodas. Where is my Meliodas now after 2 weeks of playing this game? Well, as you can see, I've shown you before, I believe, in one of my older videos, but I've already crafted my SSR dual swords. I was lucky enough that from one of the SR crafted weapon chance boxes that you can get, you get one from your special codex rewards, and then you can buy one from each town. There's still one more I haven't bought, but I was lucky enough to get the SR version of the dual swords from the first box I opened. So I managed to skip that step and craft the SSR version. I took this to 50. I've also just finished crafting his longsword. I made this about 2 days ago or something now. I've also enchanted that. I don't actually use this build at the moment. I could. The weapon's obviously maxed out, so I could use this build, but I still prefer using the dual swords. So for now, I haven't gone ham with the enchantment like I did over here. I just put one on that increases equipment attack because that's contributing to the attack stat that we're gaining while we equip our dual swords. So that's what I've done. Obviously here I'm still wearing the axe. I haven't got an SSR axe yet. I'm not far from crafting an SSR axe. If we go to my crafting bench and I show you what I've farmed so far for that, I have all the Scorpion materials. I have my ingots. I'm only missing 3 of these stones and my blueprint. And you'll see I have 2 SR axes. I managed to pull 2 SR axes from 2 of the other chests I opened. So I've managed to skip the SR crafting process of this weapon as well, which will lead into something I'll explain in a second with Diane as well. So main thing is these 2 items. At the moment, how am I grinding for these? Well, you'll see if I go to my blueprints, I'm not too far. 7 more fragments and I can craft my SSR axe as well. Hopefully by that point I'll have gathered these 3 stones. And the way I'm doing this is mainly by farming the spider dungeon. Now people asked me, is it possible to solo hell mode? It definitely is. I soloed hell mode. I actually only attempted it for the first time yesterday, but I've done it 3 times now. I did 3 runs of hell mode of the Spider Queen yesterday. With the new event that we've got that gives you keys, if we go to the events, this is giving you keys every time you progress and use your keys. So I've got some keys from here. Plus, obviously, we have the event giving you keys, and then you can buy 20 keys for free from the shop once a day. So I've been doing that and using keys. And obviously now at the time of recording, there's a new event that gives you 50 keys every day for a whole week from your mail. So make sure you're collecting that, because at world level 4, when you've maxed out the base cap, you should be able to use for 1 week a maximum of 120 keys for free, which is huge. So make sure you're doing that. I'm farming the, whoops, wrong one. I'm farming the spider. Why am I farming spider? Because the mini bosses inside and the main boss obviously will give me fragments for the blueprint, as well as maybe a chance to drop the actual blueprint. I'm also collecting a ton of gold because hell mode obviously gives you like 100k from each boss, whether it's the mini boss or the main boss. You get a bunch of other stuff like enchanting beads, XP, tear up stones. But at the same time, while I'm doing this farming for the blueprints, the mini bosses have a chance of dropping your fragment stones. So like the destruction fragment stone I need to craft the axe. But I'm also farming for these 2 pieces. I'm trying to be efficient with my key usage here. By using the keys on the mini bosses in here and on the main boss, not only am I farming for the resources, the blueprint fragments, and the stones I need to basically finish off my Meliodas and craft the last piece I need for him, which is his SSR axe, but I'm also taking the opportunity to simultaneously farm for gear for my Diane. Why am I farming for these? Because I could be wrong, but based on what it was on the beta and just based on the aesthetics, you can kind of figure it out. I believe that this engraved equipment is going to be the one that goes with the gauntlet build. And so I want to craft this one, and this one requires the revived nightmare set. So that's what I've been farming for. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of the top pieces. This is from the nightmare mode. From the hell mode, I dropped 3 boots 3 times in a row. A 98, a 98, and a 100. The 100 is nice. Obviously, I'm going to use this for my engraved equipment because it's the max item level that can drop. Hopefully, I'll get the top today because I still have yet to use my keys today, and that's what I'm going to be farming for, while I simultaneously farm to finish off my axe. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish off the blueprint as well. I've got 2 SR axes, which is nice because one of them I'll use for Meliodas, and then the other one I've kind of skipped the SR process again, and I'll save the other one for Escanor. So what I'll do is I'll probably craft the second SSR axe. I'll put it on Diane for the time being, and then when Escanor drops, I will give it to him unless his exclusive weapon is an axe. The way we got this longsword for Meliodas, there's a chance that there'll be some kind of special exclusive axe to craft for Escanor. So if that's the case, I'll do that. But if that isn't, then I'll have an SSR axe ready for him. And if he has an exclusive one, then the axe can stay with Diane, and that's even better. So that's basically where my Meliodas is at. In terms of some of the other things that you'll have noticed about him, that's my weapons we went over. The armor, obviously he's got his engraved equipment. I haven't made the other one yet. I think it's pointless to try and make more than one on one character before you've made one on the other characters you're using. This isn't the highest item level it could be. It's kind of just under the midway point, which is unfortunate, but it's good enough. We'll take it, we'll use it. I'm not completely sad about the engraving bonus we got. 20% buff to our normal attacks, 20% buff to our Q, a bit of crit resistance. So I'll take that, that's good. We're never going to farm for specifically for jewelry. Jewelry you don't need to farm for per se. It kind of just comes as you farm other things. So that's the one place we're kind of semi-ignoring now. This isn't optimal pieces, but as and when I do drop optimal pieces, obviously they'll go on to him. The next thing you'll see, and we don't even need to show it here because we can show it here, is I've finished off all 3 of my weapon mastery trees. I've maxed them out and I've got all the potentials from them. 4 potential dupes. This is from making it to 0 out of 30 out of 30, and then 1 for maxing each weapon tree. So now I've got 4 of those free ones. You'll see I got 3 more dupes on him. And I've done that completely free to play. I feel like I've established that point already, so we won't talk too much more about it. But I was kind of lucky. I mentioned before that in my first roughly about 150 pulls, because I kind of pulled a Meliodas both times that I was going to pity. I pulled him in the multi right before pity. So the first one came at about 70. Then I got my guaranteed at 120. And then when I hit about 150 going the second round, I got Meliodas again and I got really lucky. So at that point, I realized that now once I max my masteries, I'm going to be sitting here at 610. But I'm 1 dupe away from collecting 1 more skill bonus from potential 7. So I decided, you know what? I'll take the risk. I'll gamble. So I took the gamble. I did 1 more round, went 1 more pity, and it was about at 65 pulls that I pulled my 4th Meliodas off the banner. 4 Meliodas back to back on Meliodas banner. I got really lucky. So I took that. I'm at 710. This is where I've told myself at the moment I'm stopping. Now, really, if I had the resources, the smart thing to do would be to stop at 8. Why 8? Because if you go to your shop, you'll realize that you can buy 2 dupes of Meliodas over here. And while these ones are on a monthly rotation, the standard banner ones, I believe that the premium banner ones will be permanently in the shop, which means that you'll permanently have an opportunity to buy 2 dupes of those premium characters. So if I stopped at 810, it means that at some point down the line, if I generate enough of this resource, I'll be able to buy these and finish him off to a 1010. Now, do I feel like he needs the 1010? Not necessarily. Is it going to help him? Of course. Potentials always help. It's always a bonus. This is really nice. On the dual swords build, 1010 is actually pretty strong because it does additional damage of 300% from the final strike on the ultimate move. The final strike of the ultimate move is already doing big damage because with your Hellfire stacks, it's doing that massive crit. So it's pretty good, but I don't feel like I need it per se. These 2 kind of already do the job well enough. This one obviously reduces cooldowns. So this allows me to spam my Q and E more often, which means I'm healing more often and I'm extending the duration of Darkness Burst. And this one is making me inflict my Hellfire stacks quicker. It lets me get to that 10 Hellfire stacks quicker so that I can ult even faster. I'm not having to wait that long for the stacks to build up. So that's where I feel like I'm going to stop right now for Meliodas. So while I'm in the process of trying to craft his axe, my focus has kind of started shifting to Diane. Now you'll see that I've got SSR gauntlets on her already. Where did I get these from? Well, you can't see it over here, but I don't know if it's because the event has finished or because I finished it, but there was an event going on where you could get like gear pieces, all the pieces you need to craft an engraved equipment, plus some star fragments as you increase your team power. And then the reward for completing every mission was a box that would let you select an SSR weapon. Why did I select the gauntlets from that for Diane instead of finishing off with Meliodas and getting his axe? Well, we kind of touched upon it already. The reason why I chose her gauntlets is because, one, I felt like for the long run, in the long run, for the overall improvement of my team, getting a weapon that I'm actually using on a different unit rather than a weapon from Meliodas that I'm not using felt smarter. And also because for Diane, I didn't have the SR crafted weapon already. Whereas for Meliodas, I have the SR crafted axe, which means that I can skip half the process to make his SSR axe. Whereas for Diane, I would have had to go through the whole process of crafting the SR version first and then crafting the SSR. So it kind of cuts the speed down in half the amount of time it would have taken for me to get both SSR weapons. So it felt smarter doing it this way around. So now, very soon, I'll have his SSR axe, and I'll still have a head start on Diane because I've already got her SSR gauntlets. I can start moving on to the other two. For her axe, like I said before, I've already got a spare axe, so I can do that. I just need to craft the SSR nunchucks. Will probably be the first weapon where I actually have to make the SR version myself. So I've been pretty lucky in that regard. In terms of her masteries, we've maxed out her gauntlet tree. So her potentials right now are sitting at 3 out of 5 because I've had one dupe of Diane. My first pity on the standard banner was Diane, so I got her in reroll, and then I got her in my first pity on the standard banner, so I've got one dupe of her. So by the time I finish both of these, I'll be at 510, which is obviously I'm not going to specifically try and target Diane, and you can't really, but I'm happy with 510 because I'll get one bonus to the skills for my builds. This is going to give me a nice big chunk of damage on my E whenever I activate my Earth Burst. So that's where we're looking at for Diane. Obviously, I've got a bit to do on her other trees. You'll see that my nunchucks are kind of half done. Still need to do the subnodes on 3 and 4. My axe, I haven't touched at all except for the easy subnodes on number 1. I still have a ton to do there, but it shouldn't take too long. I've kind of been slowly building up these two as well with the excess I have, because you'll see that just from, and look at how much I have of this. This is not, I have not, well, it says 1k there, but if we go to a bag, you'll actually see the exact amount. I've not been farming the mastery dungeon at all. 64 of the legendary ones, 1,003, just over 1,300 of the purple ones. And then obviously we have the blue ones somewhere, 98 of the blue ones. And then finally we have 249 of the green ones. And this is purely from farming like your mastery elite bosses, your dungeon bosses, your boss challenges. All of these things have given me all of this. I've not touched the mastery dungeon at all. That is where all of my mastery farming is coming from. So I've never felt like I needed to, because in the time that all of that is generating in the background, I haven't actively been leveling other masteries anyway, because I've been focusing on Meliodas and a bit on Diane with the excess. So now I have tons of that already. I've maxed out the one tree on King that I'm using. I've also almost maxed out the one tree on Manny I'm using. I kind of ran out of gold because I used a lot of it on crafting his weapon and then maxing this to 50. But that's what we're working on. For now, we've only touched the trees that we're actually using on these two. I will eventually do the other trees, but for now, I'm focusing on getting Diane up, getting her nodes and stuff, and getting her gear. And obviously, a lot of this requires gold. Leveling up your masteries requires gold. So I want to be smart about my gold usage. So that's what my team is looking like. That's the kind of decisions I've been making so far, the kind of thought process behind it. You'll see from my what I've farmed. We've done all of this. We've made the axe. We've got Scorpy. I showed this already. I still need to farm a bunch more platinum because you're going to need more platinum to... I believe you need some platinum to tier up from 40 to 50 on your weapon when you're leveling it up. And then obviously I need to craft my weapon crafting blueprint. I have almost considered about the gear as well. Now let's talk about the gear for a second, because normally you don't really want to be crafting the gear. You're more focused on the engraved equipment. But once I get the engraved equipment, or once we have more information about what the skills are on every single one, I can see an argument to be made where if a character is not a main DPS and it's there either to just trigger a burst or it's there as a more supportive role, there could be an argument to be made for using one of these other sets. For example, this Earth set gives you Earth attack plus 100, 20% defense, and Earth damage plus 20%. Diane does Earth attack, Earth damage, and some of her damage scales off her defense. Even on her gauntlet build, her passive is that she does an additional amount of damage equivalent to like 10% of her defense or something. So defense is still scaling her damage along with attack. So I could see this being a decent set for someone who's just there to trigger burst for me, basically, if the engraved equipment doesn't serve the purpose I want it to serve. So I've kind of been saving some materials. I do have I'm able to craft one of these, and I also have a spare. I also have a fully fixed one. When I was doing my hell mode spiders yesterday, I got one of these fully formed. So I'm kind of saving these, debating what I want to craft, because I might craft the Earth set for Diane, depending on if the engraved equipment ends up being worth it or not. I could also see, I think this is the fire one. Yep, down the line when Escanor comes out and we have Merlin probably in the game by then and some other units, there could be an argument to be made that maybe the fire attack set is useful there. I mean, you've got cooldown reduction on this one, which is huge. So that could be good. We'd have to wait and see. There's more to see in the game. That's kind of my team at the moment. That's what I've done so far. I kind of rambled a bit. Hopefully you guys kind of kept up with what I was saying and what I was showing. I kind of lost my... This always happens. As I start talking, I kind of lose myself, and I find a new point and I jump on that and I forget what I was talking about originally. I very rarely look at this, but I guess this kind of shows you stats-wise altogether how everything looks. Obviously, my Meliodas is contributing the most to everything, with basically almost 17k attack, 16k defense, 44k HP. Diane is contributing the next most. Hopefully, once I finish her engraved equipment, this will jump up. My goal is to kind of, today is Wednesday. I'm probably not going to finish her engraved equipment this week. It depends on RNG, because it depends on whether I manage to collect the high item level pieces from Hell Mode. I need to get the top from Hell Mode Spider, and then I need to get the belt and boots. Not the belt and boots, the belt and trousers from the Corrupted Dragon, which means I need to attempt Hell Mode Dragon solo, which I still don't know how that's going to go. And I will be away for the weekend, so I haven't planned specifically what I'm doing about content over the weekend, a long weekend. So I'm like leaving on Friday, won't be back until Monday. So let's see. I'm hoping to at least finish Meliodas' axe before I go for the weekend, so that Meliodas I can kind of just be like, okay, well, he's for the most part pretty much completely done now. The only improvement would be like a higher item level engraved equipment. Then I can start focusing on Diane, build out my team a bit more with my second unit. So that's the goal right now. In terms of improvements to this team, aside from the actual like building the units up, if I was going to replace anyone, the standard answer, the technically meta answer would be to replace Manny with Elaine, because Elaine is also an Earth supportive unit, and she also has a skill. I can't remember if it's in the Earth build or a different build, but one of her builds, she has a skill where she basically reduces the enemy's burst resistance. She basically makes it easier for anyone to trigger their burst regardless of the element. But for me personally, based on my experience of using this team so far in the different units, I feel like the 30% crit damage buff from Manny helps me more overall than the 40% damage buff that I get for about 20 seconds from King. Because Diane is the only one who makes use of what King provides, and it's kind of more or less only at the start of a fight, whereas Manny off cooldown provides me with 30% crit damage. And that I can make use not only on Diane, but on Meliodas as well. So I feel like Manny is more staple on this team. And if I was going to get Elaine and I felt like I wanted that burst resistance reduction, I'd probably replace King on this team, to be honest. I'd probably remove King and put Elaine, because I feel like King is not as necessary unless you're focusing on Diane as your main DPS. So that's probably what I would do with this team. If I pull Elaine, I'll probably swap Elaine in for King. That's the improvement I see to this team. but it would be like a very small improvement. I feel like the main units of this team at the moment already are Manny, Meliodas, and Diane. That's kind of all you need. I will do some testing with the longsword build as well, maybe showcase that a bit so people can see how it works. As you can see over here, the longsword build seems to have a combined attack with Manny, so we can test how that works. Because in my experience, Manny's ult, when it's paired and in combined attack with people, for some reason is just really good at triggering burst like instantly. Like she fills in a huge amount of the burst gauge when she combines her ult with someone else. Like I used to use Manny's ult as a combined attack with Dreyfus, and it would just insta trigger Earth Burst basically. So I want to see how it works when you pair it with a Darkness Burst. But that's basically what we've got there. In terms of what my goals are moving forward and what I plan to accomplish next, as I've mentioned, my goal is to, in the immediate future, I want to finish Meliodas' axe, get his axe done, max that to 50. Once that's done, hopefully he'll probably hit around, well, we're at just under 17k with like this. Add, what's the axe at right now? If we compare what this is at, 908, and this is at 3.2k at max. So we're hoping to add maybe like 2k attack here. So I'm hoping that we'll touch about 20k-ish attack by the time I max out his axe and finish that off and put that there, depending on the enchantment as well we get on that. And then obviously we're focusing on Diane. And we kind of already started our focus on Diane because we are simultaneously farming gear for her to finish her engraved equipment while we farm for Meliodas' axe. So that's the short-term goals at the moment. That's what I plan to do. So that's where my keys are going. In terms of how I plan to accomplish that, my key usage at the moment is being focused on Hell Spider. You'll see I've done this solo 3 times now. I did it 3 times yesterday. It kind of, the more I did it, the more I improved each run. So my first run, you'll see over here the time that it took to for me to do it, from start to getting past all the little mobs and the little bosses to doing the final boss. The first run took me 14 minutes. The second run took me 12 minutes. The first run, I also died once on the actual final boss because I wasn't able to. She does that whole phase where she goes up into the roof of the cave, and then you have to kind of break the little spider eggs down on the ground. And in the first run that I didn't break the spider eggs fast enough on my first try, so I died and I had to do it again. Second run, I did better and I did it in 12 minutes. And then finally, my third run, I did it in 8.5 minutes. Hopefully, we can improve on that still. But that's where we're focusing our keys at the moment. Trying to do the mini bosses as well. Trying to get more weapon crafting blueprint fragments while hoping to pull the revived nightmare top at 100 item level from the final boss. Once we get that, then the next goal, hopefully by the time we get the top, we'll also have got the stuff we need to craft Meliodas' axe. At which point my next focus will be attempting to do hell mode of the corrupted dragon. We're going to do this, farming for the revived nightmare bottoms and belt, because by that point Meliodas' axe will be done, and the goal will be to try and finish off Diane's gear. And even if Meliodas' axe is not done, hopefully we'll have received the gear piece we need from Spider, and we'll have received the stones hopefully from the mini bosses. So the only holdback would be the weapon fragments, blueprint fragments, which we can still get from here. So I'll switch here. I'll start doing this. I don't think it should be too bad because I personally find the nightmare mode of this to be relatively easy. Of course, it's a big jump, 26k to 40k. And obviously the difference in what they recommend and what I am, like it's a smaller difference compared to what Spider was, which means that technically this should be harder than Hell mode of Spider. But I don't think it should be too bad still, especially because you're only fighting one boss basically. There's no mini mobs. At some point, I'm also going to make an attempt on Hell mode Gila as well. I haven't done it because, well, I just haven't needed to. There's nothing I really want from here at the moment in terms of the gear drops. So I haven't done that. I don't think it will be too difficult. I think that, honestly, I think Gila is easier than the Spider. So I think it should be easier. It should be faster as well, because you're not forced to fight the mini mobs or anything. There's no mini bosses that you're forced to fight in between while you're doing Gila. The other big thing about Gila that is kind of better than Spider, in my opinion, is that if you're someone like me whose main team doesn't include a fire unit, doing spider is a bit annoying because it forces me to swap out one of my units for Gila because I need fire to light the braziers and break the spider webs, which means that I have to throw some random gear onto Gila and put her into my team. And I usually swap her in for King um, every time I go into spider. But I don't have to limit my team like that when I am doing Gila or anything else. So I guess that's the nice thing about doing these, which is why it should be easier, because I can run my full actual team the way they're meant to be run. So that's my goals at the moment. Carry on with my hell mode spider farm, move on to corrupted dragon, attempt Gila in between. That's where all my keys are going. And yeah, I mean, this video was kind of longer than I thought it would be, but that kind of showcases my team, showcases my progress. If you look at the map and stuff, what I'll probably do at some point is I'll probably make another video. I don't want to drag this one out too long as well. I don't want to end up rambling, but I'll make another video for you guys where I kind of showcase what my daily grind involves, not just in terms of what I'm farming with keys, but in terms of where I use what I use my keys on, and then after my keys are done, what do I focus on in the game next? I'll show you like my ore farm, the route that I take for farming my ores, what ores I farm and focus on, what some of these other ones are, so like the fragments, the wisdom fragments and stuff you need for blueprints. And then once I do the farming, we'll talk about what mob farming routes I do as well, because believe it or not, farming some mobs are really important and useful. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll probably at some point make a video going through what my daily grind is, what it involves, the mob farm routes I do, the ore farming route I do, where I use my keys. There's also a useful website that I think would be good for you guys to use. Obviously, there's still a fair bit for me to do. I don't get the time to complete it, but there's obviously chests and star fragments that I can still find around the place. I'm kind of almost there in terms of star fragments. Like you'll see, I've finished all of these. All of these are done. If you're looking on the side over here at my progress, this one is done. This is done. This one, I've got one more somewhere. I've got 3 more there. I've finished this zone and this zone. I've got quite a few in the Fairy King's Forest, obviously, because it's the largest zone. And then I've got 1 more here. In terms of Leonis, where are we? We've got a few more here as well. And then obviously there's a ton of chests in all the different areas. I mean, look at this one. I'm not even halfway there with all the chests. So there's a ton more that I can farm in terms of star fragments, chests. That's going to give me seals that I can use to buy things from the seal shop. It's also going to give me more star fragments that I can start saving up, because that's where we are right now in terms of currency. I've pulled enough Meliodas for now. While I did talk about how I might want to pull 1 more copy, there's only 5 days left on the banner for me for Meliodas, and I don't think I'm going to get enough pulls to even go to pity in 5 days. And I also don't want to gamble for that 1 extra copy when I've already reached 710. I don't think it's necessary. So at this point, we're kind of just saving now. And hopefully we'll get some news soon about what the new unit is. That is kind of it from me for today, guys. I don't know how you guys feel about this kind of content. I hope it wasn't too boring or too long. I hope I didn't ramble too much. And hopefully you guys managed to take away something from this video that was useful or helpful in some way. That's it from me for today, guys. Like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below if this was helpful or not, or how I could improve it. I know I'm kind of aware that I do ramble a lot and I need to kind of keep my points precise. But yeah, let me know. Like and subscribe. That's it from me today. I've been Wolf. Peace out.